Thank you, chairpersons and the organizers. So I'll straight away start with, because we have little time. So I have given I've been given two abstracts. One is the poster presented at ASCO, which is a hormonal therapy for epithelial ovarian cancer. It was a systemic review and meta-analysis of phase 2 study. So as Dr. Rahu has incited the topic of hormonal therapy, so we are re-looking at it. So coming to the background, we all know that hormonal factors play a key role in the tumorigenesis of epithelial ovarian cancer. The expression of steroid receptors is related somewhere to the response and survival in recent studies. But the degree of activity has never been tested scientifically. So what this group has done from Italy, they looked at the response rates from multiple phase 2 trials and tried to meta-analyze the response rates, and they estimated which is called as PES, pooled estimate rates of the response rate, according to various factors like type of intervention, different types of hormonal manipulations, ERPR status of the tumor, tamoxifen dose, that is standard dose of 20 milligram versus the higher dose, more than 20 milligram, year of study, based on at what duration this, and platinum resistance. 2 randomized trials were excluded because of the smaller numbers. Coming to the results, total 35 phase 2 trials, including almost 1,700 patients. Overall PES, that is pooled estimate, was 0.37 with all kind of endocrine manipulations. By specific agent class, with AI, tamoxifen, estrogens, progestins, tamoxifen plus progestins and progestins, it more or less varies from 30 to 40. So coming to the various expression of the hormone receptors, when they looked at the presence of ERPR receptor versus negativity, the tumors with ERPR expression, they fared well as compared to those. Okay, here the tumors with ERPR expression, the estimates were better as compared to those with negative ERPR. When they looked at the tamoxifen dose, you can see the pooled estimate with the standard dose was 0.5, that is 50%, as opposed to higher dose is 0.37. So standard dose was better as compared to the higher dose. When they looked at the platinum resistance versus platinum sensitive, only one trial there was a purely platinum sensitive tumors, rest were mixed versus platinum resistant. So what they found, that patients with platinum resistant fared well as compared to those with platinum sensitive. So coming to the conclusion, the activity of endocrine therapy in advanced epithelial ovarian cancers looks promising, but has never been tested, and it's time. So based on the recent evidence of prognostic value of this ERPR expression in ovarian tumors, these findings support the implementation of a randomized trial based on doing this particular manipulation in hormone receptor positive ovarian cancer. So this is the first presentation. Coming to the next full text article, which was published in JCO last year, paclitaxel ifosfamide cisplatin, what we call as TIP regimen, its efficacy for the first line treatment of patients with poor risk and intermediate risk germ cell tumor. So most of us know about this regimen we use in second line, not in the first line. And with the highest sensitivity to the ovarian cancers or germ cell tumors to cisplatin and the durability of this CR, we know that germ cell tumors are the model for curable cancer. The data from the testicular germ cell tumor we apply to the ovarian cancers with the current regimen which we use in the first line, that is BEP, bleomycin cisplatin etoposide, the progression-free survival good risk tumor is almost 90%. For those with intermediate risk, it is almost 70 to 75%. And for those with poor risk, it is 45% to 55%. That is with the current standard regimen, which is BEP. When we use TIP after progression after relapse from the first line, when they use BEP, there are the results, almost 2/3 of the patients went into CR with TIP. So they thought of trying this regimen in the upfront instead of BEP. So coming to the methods, it's a prospective multi-center single-arm phase 2 trial where they included fit patients with poor risk and intermediate risk. It's a single-arm trial where they tried 4 cycles of TIP. The doses when the beginning, all the three drugs, that is paclitaxel, cisplatin, and ifosfamide, they gave it for 4 days. But because of the toxicity of paclitaxel, they reduced the duration of paclitaxel from 4 days to 2 days. And rest 2 drugs were given on 5 days. The primary endpoint was CR rate. Now it was very difficult to define the CR rate for seminoma. As we know that at the end of 4 cycles, the possibility of having negative tumor markers and something seen on the radiology, if it is less than 3 centimeter and it is PET negative, then not necessarily we operate that patient. So for seminoma, it was very difficult to define the CR. So the endpoints were defined like CR, serum tumor markers negative, and PR, tumor markers negative. So most of the seminoma patients fall into PR negative, tumor marker negative. So they looked at the different favorable response rate, which included CR negative as well as the PR negative. So that was the endpoint for this trial. All fit patients who fulfilled the criteria included in the trial. Only those patients who have non-specific LDH elevations, because we know that if the LDH is more than 1.5, we keep that patient in the intermediate group. But here, to avoid the non-specific elevations, they kept the elevation more than 3 times normal. So instead of 1.5, they took this criteria of modified intermediate risk. And those patients with active infections and viral infections were excluded. If you look at the patient's characteristic, obviously most of the patients were male, only 1 female patient was there. Majority of the patients were non-cementomatous. If you look at the numbers of primary mediastinal, which is a poor risk, 27% of the patients were primary mediastinal. Majority of the patients were poor risk. Now very interestingly, if you see the number of treatment cycles given, almost 92% of the patient completed 4 cycles. In some of the patients after the surgery, when the residual disease was present, 2 more cycles were given. So apart from efficacy, the compliance was good, and it is a doable thing. 92% of the patient completed the designed dose. It was a phase 2 trial designed on 2 steps, Simon model, where they initially accrued almost 18 patients, of which 11 showed CR. So they went to the second step, where out of 41, 68% achieved a CR, which was the primary efficacy endpoint. This primary efficacy endpoint was decided based on the previous trials, where the standard regime of BAP 4 cycles was compared with 2 cycles of BAP followed by high-dose chemotherapy, where the CR rate was 55%, and here it was 68%. After this, they have extended to the further phase and enrolled total 60 patients, in which 67% were poor risk and 33% were intermediate risk. So out of these 60, 56 were evaluable, 68% was the CR, 13% achieved PR, what I mentioned PR, but the markers were negative. And most of these patients in PR negative were seminoma. So this favorable response rate, which includes CR negative as well as the PR negative, was 80%. If we compare it with the historical trial, which I was mentioning about the BF4, it was almost 60% only. So 60% versus 80%. The 5 out of 7 achieving PR negative had seminoma. So they did not undergo surgery because the tumors were either less than 3 centimeter or the PET was negative. So coming to the efficacy by risk. So if you look at the CR, almost 68% overall, intermediate group 67%, and poor risk 68%. PR negative values were 13%, in the intermediate risk it was 28%, and the poor risk group it was 5%. If you look at the favorable response numbers, including both CR and PR, overall it was 80%, in the intermediate risk it was 94%, and in the poor risk it was 74%. Patients who relapsed after this are basically from the poor risk group. Only 1 patient in the intermediate risk and 5 patients were of the poor risk group. So coming to the survival rates, if you look at the 3-year PFS data, it was 72% of the whole population were progression free at the end of 3 years. And if you look at the risk by risk stratification, the intermediate risk PFS was 90% and the poor risk 62%. If you look at the overall survival at the end of 3 years, for the whole population it was 90%, almost 91%. For the intermediate risk, 100% of the patients were alive at the end of 3 years. And in the poor risk, almost 87, 90% of the patients were alive at the end of 3 years. Now important is toxicity. So I want to tell you again here, 92% of the patients completed the desired number of chemotherapy cycles. In spite of grade 3 and 4 toxicities, most of the toxicities were hematological toxicities. With febrile neutropenia of grade 3 and 4 is 18%. If you look at the non-hematological toxicities, most of them related to the dyselectrolytemia. So this trial met its pre-specified primary endpoint, which was the favorable response rate. 28 out of 41 evaluable patients achieving CR to TIP in the pre-planned analysis. Among the 56 of the 60 patients, the favorable response rate was 80%, including 74% in the poor risk group. Furthermore, 3-year survival rates were promising. No patients with a testicular or retroperitoneal primary tumor had died. With a median follow-up of 4.4 years, the 3 years OS as well as PS looked better. So, TIP demonstrated efficacy as a first-line therapy for intermediate and poor risk germ cell tumor with an acceptable toxicity, safety profile, given a higher rate of favorable response, progression-free survival, and overall survival compared with the prior first-line studies, which is mostly BEP, 4 cycles. TIP warrants further study in this population. Thank you.